Can you do 100 pull-ups? What about 4,000? I'm going to talk about how to master your mind. These are book notes for Can't Hurt Me. It's a book by David Goggins. David Goggins is much more accomplished than I am. He is a Navy SEAL. He went through Hell Week 3 times, finished twice. He completed U.S. Army Ranger School. He previously held the record for pull-ups in a 24-hour period, doing over 4,000, and has completed many ultramarathons. I heard about David Goggins on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's had him on a couple times. One of the first things that he mentions is that he's an ultramarathoner, so he's run a 100-mile race, which still plenty of people have done that, so maybe you're not impressed, and then he's done it, and then done it 2 weekends in a row. Plenty of people have probably done that. There's a lot of people in the world. Then he points out that he ran 8 weekends in a row, so 8 100-mile races in 8 weeks. So I think fewer people have done that. But he mentions this book. I picked it up. I picked up the audiobook version. And one thing that's great about it is just how the book is put together in audio format. I think it takes advantage of the audio format. And I'm excited to see other people do this as podcasts and audiobooks rise in popularity. How it works is Adam Skolnick is the narrator of the book. He will read each chapter. Then at the end of the chapter, Goggins comes into the studio. They discuss topics from the chapter. It becomes like a mini podcast in between each chapter. It really becomes this director's commentary of the book. Really enjoy that kind of format. And you get extra content listening to the audiobook. And it just helps to break the chapters up, to bring somebody and have the conversation. And the great thing is that Adam Skolnick asks a lot of the questions that you as the reader might be thinking. So there were a lot of times like listening to the chapter that it's like, oh, some question would come up and he would ask it and you'd get the answer directly. So I'm just going to go through some topics, some things that stuck out. This isn't comprehensive of the entire book. This is not a complete summary or anything, but just some takeaways that I had and some tools. So he talks about his childhood. The first couple chapters are about his upbringing. And the tool that I took away here is to throw out your excuses. As I mentioned, he's an ultramarathoner, runs a lot. And when he was a child, different kind of running. His mom, and he ran away with his mom. So they had to hop in a car to get away from his dad, who was very abusive. And yeah, it's just like there's really no way to say he had a tough childhood is a huge understatement. It was a terrible childhood with a lot of physical abuse, mental abuse. He says that he shares it just to relate to the reader and just to point out that you shouldn't use all these excuses that you have in your life, like maybe your life. There are reasons that you can't do certain things, you can't accomplish these things, and sometimes we can let who we are hold us back, who we've been in the past and things we've done in the past hold us back. And it's up to you to take the step. It's not always easy, but it's up to you to take the steps to kind of shed that. He says, you will use your story, this list of excuses, these very good reasons why you shouldn't amount to a damn thing, to fuel your ultimate success. Next up, the 40% rule. Kind of summarizing this. As a tool, you can do more. You can do more than you think. In the book, he describes a stock car. This is the second car I've drawn in this presentation. Anyway, so he talks about race cars and like a car engine that has a governor. This diagram is from a steam engine, but this will protect the car and it keeps the top speed lower, or it puts a limit on the top speed, so things don't go like too crazy if you try to go too fast. But if you turn the governor off, then you can go as fast as you want, and then sometimes you can break the car if you're not careful. And what he says is that we have this kind of governor in our heads, mental things that will tell our bodies to stop. Like if we're doing a workout, and if you're doing 10 pull-ups, then maybe the governor says, you know, that's kind of your limit. So if you destroy the governor, maybe not 1,000 pull-ups as I've drawn here, but his description is that when you hit your physical limit, you're really at about 40% of what your body can do. So he says, the software update that you need to shut your governor down is no supersonic download. It takes 20 years to gain 20 years of experience, and the only way to move beyond your 40% is to callous your mind day after day, which means you'll have to chase pain like it's your damn job. I like that phrase, callous your mind. Just calluses don't just suddenly appear. It's because you're doing work, you're doing a bunch of pull-ups, you're doing a bunch of kettlebell swings, whatever it is on your hands, and then you blister them, so you take them over the limit. Not always, but you can do that, and to prevent that, you build up the calluses. So it's something that you build day after day, working day in, day out. Next, find the plans, and the tool here is visualization. He tells the story of, as mentioned, a lot of what he's known for, what he talks about, is going through Hell Week to become a Navy SEAL. It's one of the hardest training programs in the world, like in just in the world, in history, whatever it is. And you can argue about like what the single hardest one is, but this is definitely up there, and Hell Week is the hardest week of that training. He tells the story of his team, and he knew the importance of getting the agenda, and kind of like by any means possible, so they do eventually figure out this way to get the Hell Week agenda. And the point there is that it helps so much mentally to know what's coming so that you can brace for impact. And what you want is like any advantage that you can have going through Hell Week, because it can be that grueling. I think it's something like 4 hours of sleep in the entire week, so you can, and it's not like they're just reading books when they're awake. So then later on in his life, he's doing ultra marathons, and he talks about this driving the length of like the 100-mile race beforehand, and driving and taking notes so that he can visualize and see what's coming, and that has helped him in his racing days. This reminded me of Alex Honnold, the free climber. He talks about how like calm he is the day of, and because he's gone through the climb so many times previously, he's prepared and he's able to visualize every move beforehand, so when he's actually doing it, then he's ready for everything. And this is what David Goggins says: you must also visualize the challenges that are likely to arise and determine how you will attack these problems when they do. That way, you can be as prepared as possible on the journey. Next up, when physical training ends, this is a tool: training your mind. The book as a whole is about training your mind. He talks about doing pull-ups. So if you imagine every pull-up you do drains like your physical limits. So today's goal is 100 pull-ups, again like the 40% rule. At 40, your body does feel like maybe it's done. So when your body is depleted, that's when you begin training your mind. Because if you do believe that your body, it does become that like mind over body kind of thing. So he says, in Iraq, it was impossible to get long runs in, so we lived in the weight room. We did hundreds of deadlifts and spent hours on the hip sled. We went way beyond overtraining. We didn't care about muscle fatigue or breakdown, because after a certain point, we were training our minds, not our bodies. I really like this. This is a nice reminder because, yeah, I do tend to lean on the rest and recovery side of things and being there for the long. And I think I've gone too far the other way. So the intensity is not there, and guess what? Like, I don't see the results as much anymore with training. So this was, again, nice thing to hear approaching the new year, and maybe I'll be able to take some of this motivation, inspiration to work a little bit harder. Maybe not 4,000 pull-ups in a day. This section is called If You Gave This Book To, and I think it'll make sense. So I'll just talk about giving it to different people. So if I gave it to my younger self, I would do that because, again, even not just in the gym, but just with like things that I'm making, working smart, totally buy into that. You know, you gotta work smart, and I think I've leaned too far in that direction, and I would give it to my younger self, or even myself 1 week ago, or like a year ago, just to say like, hey, remember the times that you've improved, you were working hard and working smart. Yes, you were working on the right things, but there's still hard work to do. So don't shy away from that so much. If you gave this book to an alien, pretty much would explain, like, you're an alien, you've come to our planet, you probably have looked at a lot of people, have a good view of this. This book is written by someone, like a hard human being, which, you know, uncommon man among uncommon men. He's, you know, a diamond against me. I'm like a mashed potato, a bowl of mashed potatoes. So that's why this book is written too. We can learn a lot from people who have been through hardship and know what it takes to become that kind of like diamond hard mindset, or to have like this hard mindset and to push through hard work and things like that. And there has to be a balance. So don't kill our civilization. And if I gave this to a professional wrestler, I would recommend it to Mr. Perfect. I would be pretty satisfied with myself as well if I could throw a touchdown to myself, whatever it is, but he just was always a little too satisfied. So something in this book is just that you shouldn't rest on your laurels. Once you can set the achievement and have that goal in mind, but once you get there, don't stop. That means you can find something else to work toward, and you want to keep improving. So, great book for that. Mr. Perfect might be able to improve as well if he had had this book in the 90s. Still a great wrestler, and that's that for this book. Go check it out. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Remember, don't use your past as an excuse. Thank you, and hit subscribe and hit the thumbs up if you liked it.